Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily Quiz for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 16th August today and we are going to discuss few questions in this session. Usually what we used to do, we will take up the questions directly and discuss them. But unfortunately or fortunately, few of you guys, you mailed me and you raised few concerns in that mail that, sir, these questions seem very out of the box, they seem very random, we are not able to connect these questions with the current affairs topics. So in taking your complaints, in taking those concerns of yours, we had brought up this new initiative. We will try this. Let us see whether this will work for you guys. What we are going to discuss today, we will first discuss the topics separately and then take up the questions with respect to them, so that you would be able to connect these topics with the questions, and also it will give you the brief idea about the current affairs and also give you the idea how the questions could be formed from them. So let's see how it will work. If you don't like this, please write in the comments, and if you would appreciate it, if you will like this initiative, please do write in the comments, give your views with respect to this. So without any delay, let's start our discussion today. Before we start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends too, so that they may also get benefited. Now let's look at the topics itself. These are the topics on which we will discuss, and on these topics we will discuss few questions. The first topic, it is about the obstinate refusal to focus on welfare. We will discuss about our government's approach towards the welfare of the people, what they are saying and what are their actions. We will compare these two, and then we will frame a question on this discussion. After this, we will discuss about the digital platform driven by drone mapping to revive solar power scheme. In this, we will discuss PM Kusum scheme, and we will see what is the impact of that scheme and how far the government of India was successful in implementing that scheme. After that, we will discuss traffic which causes air pollution can be controlled, how we can control this air pollution caused by the road traffic. We will discuss about it, what are the measures taken by the Indian government and what should be done to control this air pollution. After that, we will discuss a a kind of discovery by Indian astronomers. They find a new method to predict amplitude of solar cycle. They invented this method, so we will discuss about that. Then after that, we will discuss about the dengue control. We will discuss about a bacteria which can be used to control the dengue. Finally, we will discuss about the national pest surveillance system, brought up by the Indian government to check. It is an AI based to check on the pests in the fields. Then finally, we will discuss the issue in the Japan. So while discussing these topics, we will frame questions on them, so that it will give the proper idea how these current affairs topics can be framed in the questions. Now, without any delay, let's look at the first topic itself. It is about the if we look at the heading, it says obstinate refusal to focus on welfare. If we look at the approach of Indian government right now, we believe in the inclusive growth. We believe in that growth in which everybody will get benefited. So for that, if we will go a little bit behind, when it was the planning commission session, when there was 5-year plans going on, before this NDA government, when we will go before this BJP government, we will see that we had already started this initiative of inclusive growth. We discussed this initiative of inclusive growth in the 11th 5-year plan. We discussed it in the 12th 5-year plan, and government has brought up many schemes to allocate money to promote social welfare, so that everybody will get benefited, whether it would be in the promotion of employment, whether it would be in the promotion of rural growth, whether it would be in the promotion of pensions given to the old age people, whether it would be in the promotion of education or nutritious food to the little kids, to the children. So government is really trying hard in promoting this social welfare, in promoting this inclusive growth, but still there are huge gaps. How much the government is talking about that and the actions they had implemented, there is a huge gap. For example, we will take the discussion of this year's budget passed by the government. Usually government talks about the social welfare, government talks about the inclusive growth, but in this year's budget, if we will try to discuss few schemes, how much the government has invested in them, we will definitely see that there is a decline in those schemes. So for example, there we have National Food Security Act. you know in the about this National Food Security Act, I had formed a question. We will discuss it in a little bit detail in that question. Let's look at the topic itself. Let's look at the article. What article tries to mention here, that if we will look at the contribution in the last years, how much budget was given to it, how much money was given to it, it was 0.73% of the GDP. But in this year's budget, the contribution to it has been reduced from 0.73% to 0.63%. We talk about the food security, but the government talks about the food security, but unfortunately they had reduced the money. When we compare it with in the percentage terms with the GDP, even though if we will compare the real money, we would see a little bit increase in that, but हमें एक चीज एक जहन में रखनी है. We have to take one thing into our consideration, that we have to take inflation. Inflation is reality, and we have to take that into the consideration, and also the GDP growth which our country is achieving right now, वो भी हमें consideration में लेनी है. With respect to that, if we will see the percentage growth, the percentage investment in the National Food Security Act, in such schemes which are under it, the money contributed to it has been reduced from 0.73% to 0.63%. So allocations has reduced. Similarly, if we will take the example of Manrega, earlier in the last year, it was the contribution to it was 0.29%. Now it has been reduced to 0.26%. So there is decline in funds allocation in Manrega too. About Manrega, we know it is 100 days of wage opportunities, for the rural youth, at least to the every person living in the family. So at least to the one person living in the family. So in this, where Manrega helps in the job creation, it helps in providing the daily wages to the people. In this scheme also, the contribution has been reduced. Then comes the example of National Social Assistance Program. We will take the example of the National Social Assistance Program. In this, as pension payments were given to the widowed persons or old age people, especially to the widowed woman. This has also reduced. The investment in it has also reduced. And one more thing, the money they give in this is approximately 200 to 300 rupees to every widowed person. That has not increased since long. And also, while taking the inflation into the consideration, the government has not done much in this scheme also. So we clearly see that even though the government often talks about the inclusive growth, but unfortunately the schemes the government has brought in, they had reduced their contribution in these schemes also, according to the article. Similarly, in malnutrition, more than 15% of children in our country suffer from the chronic malnutrition. And also, if we will see the anemia rate, it is 20 to 30% higher. And in this scheme, for example, we have PM Poshan scheme with respect to this, for the which acts on the malnutrition for the children, which for midday meal use, which the governments used to give, and it has been added into the PM Poshan scheme. In this also, this year the government has reduced its contribution from 0.25% to 0.22%. So we can categorically make a statement that even though government is talking right now about the inclusive growth, talking about welfare for all, talking about benefit for all, but still the government, the contribution which they should have given in these schemes has reduced according to the article. But this article does not show the clear picture. Even though the contributions in these schemes had reduced, but if we will see, the government has brought up new schemes also, new initiatives also, in which the contribution has increased. So this was about this article. Now let's look at the question with respect to this article, how the UPSC can frame a question from today's, let me make it clear. Even for example, UPSC is going to read today's newspaper and they will decide, let's make a question from this article, and this is how they can form a question. Let's that. The question here is, which of the following statements regarding the National Food Security Act are correct? We discussed about that the contribution of government has reduced in the National Food Security Act with respect to the schemes in it. So let us see the question here. Let us discuss it. Which of the statements regarding National Food Security Act are correct? The first statement, the NFSA National Food Security Act aims to provide subsidized food grains to approximately 50% of the urban population and 75% of the rural population. It is subsidized food, so there is nothing wrong in this statement. We can mark it correctly. Second statement, under NFSA, beneficiaries are categorized into two groups, the priority households and the Antyodaya Anna Yojana households. Nothing wrong with this statement too. This is also correct. Third statement, the Act mandates the creation of a National Food Security Commission to oversee its implementation. So in this statement it is wrong because the NFSA does not specifically mandate the creation of a National Food Security Commission. This National Food Security Act, it does not specifically mandate the creation of National Food Security Commission. Instead, it provides for the establishment of a food commission at the state level. So in the question number 1, the statement 3 is incorrect. Now looking at the fourth statement, it says the National Food Security Act provides for the establishment of a grievance redressal mechanism to address the issues faced by the beneficiaries. 100% correct. So far the question number 1, the first statement, the second statement and the fourth statement are correct. Unfortunately, the third statement is incorrect in this question. I hope you understood this question. I hope you were able to understand the topic itself. Now let's move to another topic. It talks about the digital platform drive by drone mapping to review solar power scheme. This is very interesting topic here. Here we have to break this topic in a different way. To understand this topic, we have to understand the PM Kusum scheme, which is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uttam Mahabiyam. So this is PM Kusum scheme. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uttam Mahabiyam. Government of India announced it in 2019. In 2019, Government of India introduced it. But unfortunately, the Government of India, government has not implemented what they had planned. Their plan was not fully successful under this scheme. Now let's look at it. Let us see what are the problems in it, what this is about, what are the components of this scheme, what was the objective of the scheme, and what are the issues of this scheme. What were the components of the scheme? The components, it was divided into 3 components. First, to promote renewable energy power plants in these fields, in the fields of the farmers, to promote renewable energy power plants. It was its first component. Second component, establish installation of around 2 million stand-alone solar agriculture pumps. Establishment or installation of around 2 million stand-alone solar agricultural pumps. It was its second component. Third component was solarization of 1.5 million agricultural pumps. These were its 3 components. What was the objective of bringing this PM Kusum scheme? Farmers, they were very much dependent on the motors, and those motors run on diesel. For agriculture purpose, for irrigation purpose, they need motors to to irrigate their lands. So for that they depend on diesel. They depend very much on the diesel, and their dependency on fuel was very high. And unfortunately, we know one thing, First, diesel is very expensive for the farmers. Second, because of the diesel, there are very harmful emissions in the atmosphere. So to reduce this expenditure of the farmers on the diesel, and also to reduce the emissions, this scheme was put forward. This scheme was brought in to depend on the renewable energy. And also, second objective was to harness the sunlight. When they will harness this sunlight, they will generate the electricity from this, and they can sell this extra electricity to the discoms and earn some money. And also, when they will have these solar power plants in their fields, they will generate, it will help farmers to generate employment for those who will install those. So it will indirectly help in the employment creation. But even though we had introduced this, government has planned it in 2019 itself, they had announced it in 2019 itself, but the government of India was not able to harness full impact of this scheme. There are some issues. Now let's look at these issues which we face in the implementation of this scheme. The one and the foremost issue is the land we have right now, availability of the land. The land is not that much available to the farmers, even though farmers are having land, but that is very much fragmented. 86% of farmers in our country are small or marginal. Only up to 1 to 2 hectares of land they have. So there is huge fragmentation of the land. The land the farmers have, that is in the pieces, huge fragmentation of land, and so it makes it very much difficult for them to implement this scheme. And also, cost of the project, when they want to install this project, the installation cost is very high. That is not affordable by many farmers. And also, availability of the equipments is very difficult for them. So with respect to this availability of the equipments, government they had changed a few of its system. They came up with the online portal where the farmers can order these equipments. The government is trying its best to implement this scheme fully, to harness its benefits fully. And also with that, the government is going to use digital platform. By the help of drones, they will look at the lands which they will map out the lands which could be viable for these solar power plants. So this was in this article. Now let's look at the question which can be framed from this article. Now here the question is talking about the now let's look at the question directly. Which of the following statements about the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uthan Mahabiyan PM Kusum scheme are correct? So here we have statements given. We will have to look at which among these statements are correct with respect to the PM Kusum. The first, the PM Kusum scheme aims to provide financial assistance to farmers for installing solar power plants to reduce dependence on diesel generators. Absolutely right. We discussed this in the objective of the PM Kusum. So this first statement is absolutely right. Second statement, under PM Kusum, farmers are encouraged to install solar pumps and grid connected solar power plants. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with this. Third statement, the scheme provides for the installation of solar power pumps only in the states with high solar insolation levels. This only makes it very much extreme, and this is totally incorrect because there is no barrier to this scheme, so it is incorrect. Statement 3 is incorrect. Coming to the statement 4, PM Kusum provides subsidies to farmers for the installation of a solar power system with the aim of enhancing their income through the sale of surplus power to the grid. 100% correct. So for the question number 2, the statement 1, 2 and 4 are correct. So with this, I hope you are able to discuss, you are able to understand the question itself and the background of this question. Now moving to the third article, it talks about how can traffic which causes air pollution can be controlled. How can this air pollution causing traffic, motor vehicles which help in which cause huge air pollution, how we can control this air pollution. About this, let's dig a little bit deeper in this discussion. We should know that in India we host 83 most polluted cities. So this shows how much pollution we are generating in the world, in the globe itself. 83 most polluted cities are in India itself. And also we should know that approximately 2 million people die of air pollution every year. And one more thing, we should know that pollutions, because of the transportation, 12% of the CO2 carbon dioxide emissions are because of the motor vehicles, and 60%, and we should know that in motor vehicles itself 60% of freight transportation is via roads, and 83% of passenger transportation is via road. So it shows how much dependent we are on the road transportation. And also we should know that these vehicles are responsible for the emission of the particulate matter 2.5, and also emission of nitrogen dioxide and carbon dioxide, which are high pollutants of the environment, and they contribute to the global warming. So now the question is how we can reduce it. There are different ways by which we can reduce this air pollution. Government has brought up some schemes. For example, corporate average fuel economy. This is on the corporates, this is on the manufacturing industries, what they have to regulate. They have to regulate cars, how much they have to regulate the efficiency of the cars, they have to regulate the efficiency of the engines in this scheme. Then we have vehicle scrappage policy. It is in this scheme very old vehicles, approximately 50 years or 20 years old. For them, when vehicle is that old, their efficiency decreases of its own, and because of that, when the efficiency of a vehicle decreases, it consumes more fuel, and because of that it leads to the more emissions. So under this vehicle scrappage policy, what the government has done, that those vehicles who are not fit for who are not able to get the fitment certificate, they will be scrapped, they will be sold to this scrappage industry, and that plastic or steel which will be generated from them will be reused. And these actually only these two were mentioned in the article, but still there are few other ways by which we can reduce this air pollution. We have the method of ethanol blending, we have the method of Government of India is going for the initiation of the Government of India is promoting the electric vehicles. And also in the manufacturing itself, we can go for the alternate materials, we can go for the composite materials instead of steel, which is much heavier. And this is very understood truth that the heavier the vehicle, more fuel it needs to generate the energy to move. So if we are able to reduce this vehicle weight, we can use composites instead of this regular steel. By that we can increase the efficiency of the vehicle. So this was about this article. In these ways we can reduce this pollutions generated by the vehicles, generated by the motor vehicles. Now let's look at the question with respect to this article. Here the question says, which of the following initiatives or measures are part of India's approach to reduce air pollution caused by motor vehicles? Here are some initiatives. First, implementation of Bharat Stage 6 emission norms, 100% correct. Second statement, promotion of electric vehicles through the faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicle schemes, 100% correct. Option 3, introduction of the National Clean Air Program, which focus solely on vehicular emission. Introduction of National Clean Air Program is correct, but it does not focus solely on vehicular emission, so it makes this statement incorrect. Fourth statement, development of a comprehensive vehicle scrappage policy to phase out old and polluting vehicles. This is very true. So for the question number 3, the statement 1, statement 2 and statement 4 are correct. So for the question, by this we understand, I hope we understand the methods by which we can reduce this air pollution, and we understand the context behind this question. Now move forward. Here the question is about the Indian astronomers. They find new methods to predict the amplitude of solar cycles. About sun, we should know that it is very basic. From the basic geography, we should know that sun, it is formed because of the accumulation of gases, and these gases are moving at the tremendous speed under tremendous pressure, and by that they they are able to form the charges, and because of that they form different poles, North Pole and South Pole. And once every 11 years the North and South Pole they shift to their position, they revive their positions, and it leads, because of this it leads to the sunspots on the sun, which is defined in solar maxima and solar minima. With respect to this 11-year period, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, IIA, Kodaikanal Solar Observatory found at Kodaikanal Solar Observatory, they found new method to predict amplitude of new solar cycle. So this is in fact a very simple news. So with this article, let's understand the question given on this slide. Here the question says, which of the following statements about solar maxima and solar minima are correct? Statement 1, solar maxima refers to periods of high solar activity, 100% correct, characterized by an increased number of sunspots, 100% correct, sun flares, 100% correct, and coronal mass ejection, 100% correct. Nothing wrong in the first statement. Second statement, solar minima is associated with a decrease in solar activity, correct, and a reduction in the number of sunspots, solar flares, and coronal mass ejection, 100% correct. Third statement, the solar cycle is approximately 22 years long. No, it is totally incorrect, because we understood in the context itself that it is 11 years. So without reading the recent other parts, we can make it incorrect. Coming to the fourth statement, solar maxima and solar minima have a direct impact on Earth's climate. No, it is not well understood yet, so we can't make such proper statements. So we can say that fourth statement is also incorrect, even though it affects the the space around sun, but there is no estimated truth about this solar maxima and solar minima, its impact on the Earth. So it makes statement 4 incorrect. So in the question number 4, only statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and from the code given below, it makes statement A, the option A, correct statement. Now moving to the another topic, it talks about the dengue control. Even yesterday we discussed about dengue control. We discussed about the vaccination, indigenous vaccine built in India itself, namely dengue all. With respect to that, we discussed in it. Now today we have a different direction to this article itself. About dengue, we know it is one of the major issue in India itself. Many people die because of this, and especially many people die because of this disease, and especially when this is monsoon session, when there are huge rains in the country. Because of those rains, the the dengue infection rate, it increases, and it leads to the further death of the people. And yet India is not able to eradicate dengue at all. So with respect to this, the scientists, they have found a strain of a bacteria by the name of Wolbachia in fruit flies. They had found that because of this bacteria, the dengue does not affect the fruit flies, and this bacteria, it protects these fruit flies from the dengue. And with respect to this, different countries had tried their research on these. For example, they had injected this Wolbachia dengue, and did research on that. And there are two ways to do these researches. For example, population suppression, in which they will inject this bacteria, and they will not in the male male mosquito, and they will try to stop the spread of they will not let the further population of the mosquitoes, and by that they will suppress the population of the mosquitoes and the dengue itself. And another method which was used by the Australia is a population replacement, in which they will allow the male mosquitoes to go for the for reproduction, but because of this Wolbachia bacteria in them, which they inherit, because of this bacteria, they are not able to harm, they are not able to spread the dengue itself, because it protects the flies, it protects the mosquito from the dengue itself. So in a nutshell, we can say this Wolbachia bacteria is very useful in In reducing the dengue cases, it is very useful in fighting against the dengue virus. So this is about this article. Now, in taking this article into the consideration, we had formed a question. Let's look at it. Question number 5, it says, which of the following statements about the Wolbachia bacteria are correct? Such question may come directly into the exam. As I already said, suppose today the UPSC teacher who is going to form our question is reading the newspaper and he is seeing these articles, he will definitely frame a question on Wolbachia bacteria. Now let us see here what are the statements about this Wolbachia bacteria, which of them are correct. First statement, Wolbachia is a type of parasitic bacteria that primarily infects arthropods and some nematodes. 100% correct, nothing wrong with this statement. Second statement, the presence of Wolbachia in mosquitoes can help in controlling the spread of diseases such as dengue and Zika by reducing their ability to transmit these viruses. 100% correct. That is what we discussed. Third bacteria, Wolbachia bacteria are used in gene editing techniques to enhance the resistance of crops to pests. Totally incorrect. This is a very nonsense statement. In fact, it is injected into these there is no gene editing. So this makes this statement 3 incorrect. Statement 4, Wolbachia bacteria are commonly found in humans and contribute to the human microbiome. No, it is not found in the humans. In fact, it is found in the fruit flies. So it makes the statement 4 incorrect. So for the question number 5, only the statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. So with this, we complete today's daily questions with respect to the important articles in the news. Now we are still left with 2 articles. They are direct, straightforward articles. That is why I did not form a question on them. Let's look at those articles. Here, Center has launched new system, National Pest Surveillance System. We have to discuss more about it. That's why I did not form any question on that. It was launched recently. With respect to this, it is AI-driven method. Such questions may be asked in the mains, how the technology can help the farmers in different ways. Similarly, government has launched this new system, National Pest Surveillance System. For our farmers, the pests are the major problem to their crops in their land, and it is not easy for them to control these pests. Now the government has launched this scheme. What farmers will do, they will download the app, and whenever they will see the pest, they will take the picture of that pest and send it by the help of this AI. This photo will be shared with the experts in the agriculture, and they will give the right solution for this. Usually what happens, if the farmer will go to any shop for the pests, he will be looted by them. They will charge huge money from the farmer. By the help of this app, his money can be reduced, his expenditure can be reduced, and also he will be given the best solution to these pests. So this was about this article, very small article. I hope you understood it. Now let's move to the last article of today's discussion. We saw in Japan there was a news that the PM had stepped down. Why did he step down? Because of few reasons. And what are those? First, let's look at this article in a conventional way. PM on 14th August stated that he will step down as the Liberal Democracy Party, as the chief of the Liberal Democracy Party. It is very much clear who is the chief of the Liberal Democracy Party. He becomes the PM, and he is stepping down, and he will not participate in the elections for the PM's post. And also why he did step down, when he was elected as PM, there were lots of expectations on him. His approval rating was very high then. There was huge expectations on him. He was planning to introduce the neo-capitalism, new investments in social welfare, but he failed miserably because the inflation rate has increased in the country. There is historic wage hike in the country, and also the domestic currency had started to losing its value. Because of that, the imports have become very costlier. These were some economic issues. He was also involved in some scandals. For example, he was connected to certain certain gangs, recently the former PM of the Japan was killed. It was shown that he was involved in certain gangs with respect to that, and also the scandal he has done, as he has as his party was involved, he and his party was involved in arranging parties and inviting people in those parties, and asking for the charging money on those people and taking that money into their own bank accounts. So there were huge scandals associated with him because of these issues, the employment issues, the inflation issue, the economic issues in his country, and the scandals he was involved in. Because of these, his ratings had gone very down, and it was very much understood that he will resign, and finally he has resigned from his post. So with this, we complete today's discussion of daily quiz. I hope you would like the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you will subscribe the channel. When you subscribe, it gives us the energy to work more hard on it and provide you the best information possible. With this, we complete today's discussion. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much.